But if folks recall, just ahead of the 2022 election, where Bolsonaro lost in a razor-close nail-biter election, very similar to our own in the 2020 cycle, all three wings of the blob, the State Department, the CIA, and the Pentagon, all went down to Brazil to intermediate that election. The State Department pulled strings to Taiwan Semiconductor to stop giving semiconductor supplies, stop prioritizing the United States, and give those supplies to Brazil so that essentially Brazilian election officials could use 3 to 4 times more voting machines than they'd ever used. Bolsonaro said, I don't trust these voting machines. The State Department had just spent U.S. taxpayer dollars and deprioritized our access to semiconductors during the semiconductor crisis shortfall to give it to a foreign country so that they could have electronic voting machines for their election. Why is that in U.S. national interest? Why should truck drivers making $50K a year have to pay their income tax for electronic voting machines that the Brazilians didn't even ask for? Then Bill Burns, the CIA director, went down and personally threatened Bolsonaro not to, quote, cast doubt on the electronic voting machines that the State Department had just rammed down their throat. And then Lloyd Austin, the head of the Pentagon, went down to Brazil to talk to the Brazilian military to say, if there's a disputed election result, don't you dare side with Bolsonaro, because there'll be military repercussions. Much of your Brazilian military supplies and infrastructure and training comes from the U.S. So That was just at the technical level of the election. What I'm describing is all the censorship that went into that and that happened in the aftermath as part of this transitional justice campaign to stop Bolsonaro's reemergence.
Who is the head of all of this? Where's this all coming from?
Now again, this is all intermediated through the interagency. There's a formal government program. It's called the Consortium for Elections and Political Process Strengthening. Say that again. The Consortium for Elections and Political Process Strengthening. How nice, how quaint, how understated. And this has been a U.S. government State Department program, which is co-funded and largely funded by USAID, in order to help foreign countries develop more robust election infrastructure, and to make sure their own internal political systems are strengthened democratically, which effectively means to make sure they're more of a vassal of the U.S. State Department, so that anything that happens in that country's internal politics do not undermine the State Department's vision for the development of that region.